In this video, I will be transforming a simple plains biome into a beautiful farm for all the new animal variants from 1.21.5. Stick around to see how I do it. Alright, new world and immediately. Oh my goodness. I have what are they called? Wildflowers. I haven't gotten these in my survival world yet, and I'm so excited. Now, something to note about this 100 days video is one, it's my first ever 100 days video, so I'm super excited about that. But second thing is I'm actually going to be playing on peaceful mode. I saw Sparkle Egg do this recently, and she has started a peaceful survival world, and I'm not even gonna lie to you, before I started my YouTube channel, I would like strictly play on peaceful mode, and I felt the pressure of needing to play on at least some sort of mob mode when starting my channel. That, you know what, now I saw someone do it, so it's given me the confidence to, go back to my roots and really just take these next 100 days and enjoy them instead of having to worry about dying, getting a bed, and needing food. Like, it's going to be so much nicer. And I can do things like waste an entire day collecting leaf litter and wildflowers and not have to worry about finding a sheep super quick in order to, get a bed and survive the first night, because there's not going to be any mobs to kill me. So I'm very happy about that. But I probably should punch a tree or two or three, because I am going to need a lot of oak wood. And let's just start off by making our crafting table. Let's make a wooden pickaxe that we will literally use for like 5 seconds until I find stone to make stone tools. And I think I'm actually just gonna dig in here real quick and just collect a little bit of stone. There we go, and we will never be using our wooden pickaxe again. I actually made a last second decision in making this world peaceful. I was creating the world just a couple minutes ago, and I was looking at the difficulty level, and I was like, oh man, should I do it? And I just decided, yep, I'm gonna do it. I wasn't originally planning on making this 100 days video peaceful, but something just felt right about it, so I had to. And I also don't really have to worry about making a sword, because I don't have to worry about fighting off any mobs. And this is like perfect. I have oak trees, spruce trees, and birch trees, which I am going to need all 3 of. So let's waste a couple minutes chopping down some trees. Another thing great about peaceful mode is I don't have to scramble for shelter right now. I can just continue chopping down my trees and not have to worry about dying or a bunch of mobs coming for me. This is gonna be so fun. There's also some sweet berry bushes here, so I could definitely plant these. Because as you guys probably saw by the title and thumbnail, I am building a farm base for this 100 days, and there's snow here. That's kind of fun. Which is funny that I'm building a farm when I'm really not even gonna need to eat in this world. But I guess that's kind of helpful for not having to set up a little starter farm. I can just really get into the aesthetic farms and not have to worry about needing to feed myself. So that's another plus. Honestly, I don't really see a downside to doing a peaceful 100 days video, especially because I'm not going to be defeating the Ender Dragon or anything like that. I'm really not going to need XP, and I don't think I'm going to need any armor because, like I mentioned earlier, again, I'm not going to be fighting any mobs. So there's really no need for villagers, no need for armor, no need for XP. It's just going to be chilling, vibing, and building with not a care in the world, and I'm so here for it. I spent the rest of the night of day 0 chopping down a couple of trees, mostly birch because that was really what I was missing. And then I found an exposed cave which had some iron and some coal in it. And then I found a village and I raided it for everything that it was worth, including the bells and the trapdoors. Then on the morning of day 1, I raided its farms because obviously I need crops for my farmlands. Then I continued by chopping down more trees. And then I found some lilies of the valleys, which I knew I definitely needed. And then I found some more iron and some more coal. And then I raided another village when I found a bundle, which was very helpful for my storage situation. And then on the night of day 1, I finally found where we were going to base, so I crafted up a little chest and put all of my belongings in it, and then used the blast furnace that I stole from a village to smelt up my iron. Then, because I didn't have a bed, I figured, why not start terraforming the land and making it all nice and flat so that all of my farms could be on one level and it would look very cohesive and put together. So I ended up spending days 1 through 4 just breaking and placing dirt blocks in order to get the entire surrounding land flat and ready for me to build on. Oh my goodness, that literally has taken me all the way to day 5, but I think the land is finally cleared out. I have all of this space now leveled out that pretty much takes you almost all the way to the river. So all of this is completely flattened, which gives me so much room to finally begin working on my farm. I do need quite a bit more wood because right now I only have this much and I am definitely going to be needing more. But there's also some other materials that I'm going to need, such as sandstone. I really need sandstone. So I'm going to make a couple more stone tools here because I am definitely going to need them. And I am gonna head over this way because I see birch, oak, and spruce trees, so that is exactly what I need. So we're gonna head up there and do a bunch of tree chopping. And since there's more firefly bushes, I will of course be taking these. I really like the fact that with peaceful mode, I could just work through the night. The one thing that I just really always get afraid of when starting a new world is the beginning, when you're stressing about getting a bed. And that's really been something that's been keeping me from doing a 100 days video because I really just don't like the beginning of the game. I do in some aspects, but sometimes I just really don't like that uneasy feeling of not having a home and a house and a bed and an established setup. Mostly just because of monsters and mobs, it just doesn't make me feel safe. And so having this on peaceful mode is just gonna be so much nicer for the early game. I'm so happy. After I was done chopping all the trees, I dug up some coarse dirt from the taiga, and then on the night of day 7, I arrived home and organized my mess of a chest and then planted up some sugarcane. Like I mentioned earlier, I am really in need of sandstone, but I don't exactly know where to go. So I think I'm going to venture maybe like this way, because I know there's dark oak and spruce over there. So I think I'm gonna go and look this way and hope I can find some sort of beach to hopefully get some sandstone. While I was walking, I ran into a little sunflower patch and then also an entire flower forest, so I picked as many flowers as I can hold. And then on day 8, I ran into a village which gave me my first bed, and then I used a tulip to pick up some hay bales. Unfortunately, there wasn't really any good loot, so after I destroyed all of their crops, I headed out to continue my journey. I found a beach pretty quickly after that and dug up the sand to get to the sandstone and mined until I had basically broken my pickaxe. I arrived home towards the end of the night of day 8 and crafted up a new chest and dumped all of my sandstone in it by the morning of day 9. I unfortunately forgot to hit record, but on day 9, I went out to the nearby river and mined up a whole bunch of clay balls and then arrived back on day 10 to smelt them all up. I've got my clay smelting into bricks and I really do need a desert. I went looking for a desert earlier and found some sand and got sandstone, but
I need cactus for green dye. I'm just gonna start walking in a direction and hope we can find one. Also, I want to check out this pillager outpost, but I feel like it's like cheating because I'm on peaceful mode, so I won't have to fight the pillagers. But I mean, I'm not here to fight the Ender Dragon or anything. It's not gonna be game changing whatever's in this this pillager outpost. I really just want the horn. So I'm gonna take a look quick and then we'll look for the desert. Okay, bottles of enchanting, that's fun. Ooh, there is an armor trimmer too. I will take the potatoes as well. And I think this is the regular like pillager one, right? Yeah. Okay, let's find this desert now. On my way to finding this desert, I found not only a pale oak forest, but I also found a woodland mansion, which is really unfortunate because I will not be needing either of those on my 100 days. So I carried on with my adventure, but then on day 11, I found another woodland mansion, which is just absolutely insane to me. Then I found a ruined portal which had an enchanted mending gold helmet, which I ended up putting on later. And then we finally came across a desert, which I then grabbed my cactus flower and my cactus. After I grabbed a bit of what I needed, I ended up finding a desert temple, so I dug my way down, destroyed the pressure plate, and looked in all the chests and looted them. Then I built myself back up and started on my journey home. But on my journey home, I found something pretty cool. Okay, I just found 20 bones. Can I get myself a little friend? I don't know. Let's go for this guy. Yes! Okay, we got a friend. Oh, I'm so happy. All right, we're taking him home. And I'm also grabbing more of these rose bushes. I continued walking home on day 12, and then on day 13, I found myself in a cave mining up some granite as well as some coal and iron. Then I arrived back home and started smelting up even more clay balls, as well as my iron, and then I crafted 3 new furnaces in order to smelt up even more clay. Then, while I was waiting for those to smelt, I cut up some granite into granite slabs in order to prepare for the first build. Alright, I have gathered all of the materials that I'm gonna need for the start of this build. So let's hop into the first time lapse of this video. Once the exterior of the house was built, I moved on to the interior by first placing down a couple of chests and getting them all set and organized. Then I went outside and grabbed all of my furnaces and placed them down inside my house as well. Then I built a little place for my bed, added my stone cutter, and added up a couple of decorations around the room. Then I finished the entire house off by adding a roof and a lantern. On day 19, I walked down my brand new stairs and began creating a long straight path starting at my house and continuing down almost touching the river to map out where I'm going to be putting all of the other builds for this farm. On day 20, I decided that I was ready to get working on the farms, but first, I needed melons, so I set off in a general direction looking for a jungle to find some melons, stopping along the way to pick some flowers, and you guys, I had to travel so far just to find a jungle. I was getting really worried that I wasn't going to be able to find one like at all. As you can see, I traveled through so many different biomes, and I was really hoping that we weren't going to have another webby melon situation because for some reason I just always struggle to find melons. But eventually we did stumble upon a jungle and I found melons fairly quickly. On the way back, I stumbled across yet another village, so I used a firefly bush to break the hay bales and then proceeded to steal the town's bell and all of their crops. Once there was nothing left to steal, I continued my journey home, finally making it back on the night of day 21, where I proceeded to make both a hoe and a bucket to make all of my farms. Then, at the start of day 22, I started by connecting a path from the main road up to underneath my house. And then I got to work on the farm plots. I wanted to do something different than what I normally do, so in this world, all of my farm plots are going to be very structured, symmetrical squares, whereas normally I would make very organic shapes for farm plots. and usually surround them by rocks and leaves, but instead I'm making them fenced in plots that look like they're really just meant to be there. This is something that I've never done before, but I really like how it turned out in the end. My goal for this farm was to make everything look very structured and symmetrical, so most, if not all, of my paths consist of straight lines, which is something that I've also never really done before, as I'm more of an organic builder, so this is something that was definitely a bit out of my comfort zone, but I think that it all turned out really beautiful. On day 23, I sheared up more leaves to finish the border around all of my farms. On day 24, I extended the path where my new build was going to go and chopped up a bit more wood. And then by day 25, I was crafting the last materials that I was going to need to start this build. Enjoy the time lapse. On days 28 and 29, I continued harvesting and replanting my crops to make sure that all the fields were completely filled up. And I finally realized why beetroot gets so much hate, because it takes so long to grow that I literally had to make a composter and compost the rest of my carrots and potatoes just to bone meal up my beetroots so that I could get more of them. Then I decided underneath my house would be great for growing sugarcane, so I made a quick infinite water source and then dug holes for water and covered them all with slabs. Then I grabbed my sugarcane from the river and planted them in each of the grass spots. Then on the night of day 29, I began making a fence around my barn for all of my future animals will be able to walk around in, but then I realized that I definitely did not have enough grass space, so I had to go and get my grass and begin filling in an entire new layer just for the fences. And by the night of day 30, I was finally able to finish the fence. On day 31, I went out and looked for some animals to add to the pen. Then once I was finished with that, I went around and added the leaf border to the rest of my paths. And then along all of the bushes on the main path, I added firefly bushes, regular bushes, and some oxy daisies to create this beautiful looking atmosphere. And just look at how pretty it was at night. I was obsessed. On day 32, I decided to put some coarse dirt in the barnyard, as well as a bunch of different flower variants, and the bushes, wildflowers, and the new cactus flowers. Then later, I decided to set off to look for some of the new animal variants, and I happened across a cold egg, but it was getting dark, so I decided to sleep and woke up right next to a cold chicken, which turned out to be 2 cold chickens. So I started leading them home, and then a fox came and literally ate all of my chickens, and so I had to do something that I absolutely hated, but I had to kill the fox. That hurt. That hurt really bad. Oh my god, but I had to protect my chickens. Oh no. But luckily, pretty quickly after that, I found 2 more mullet chickens and I took them home across the river, which literally took an entire day. But eventually I did get them home along with a black sheep as well. On days 34 through 36, I headed back out to the nearby taiga to try and find the other animal variants, and y'all, I walked for so long until I finally found a couple of woolly cows, so I started on my journey back home, and then I found a wandering trader, so I killed him for his leads, and then continued walking until the night of day 34, so I slept and woke up back on day 35, and continue walking all of day 35 until it became night again, and I was tired of walking in the dark, so I slept again and woke up on day 36 to finish off my journey, finally getting all of the cows and a couple of sheep into the pen. Okay, I brought Bones for this exact reason, and I got a black dog. I love him so much. And now you need to help me find some pigs because I've found none. None at all. So that's great. So I continued walking on day 37, trying to find these cold pigs until I finally found one. Oh my god. Finally. Is there any other pigs? It's fine if I just have one, but I mean, having a second would be nice just to like ensure that I'll get a second pig, but honestly, at this point, like I still need to get all of the warm variants, so yeah, let's put this little guy on a lead and let's start trying to head back. On day 38, I returned home with 2 cold pigs, and I was super happy and I was gonna breed them until I accidentally hit one, and then my dog killed it. You have actually got to be kidding me. Oh my goodness. All right, let's try and get another, shall we? That's the first time I bred. Oh, yay. Okay, we've got it. We are good. We're gonna sit you down there so you don't kill any more of my animals. And we are gonna move to the warm climate. On day 39, I wandered into a savannah village where I immediately found warm pigs, and then just seconds after that, I also found the warm chickens. But then literally seconds later, again, this happened. Oh my gosh, I literally got so lucky. I found a whole bunch of pigs, and then immediately found chickens, and then immediately found cows. This is so good. I'm really only going to try to take one of each animal, and if other animals follow me, that's fine. But I've got my chicken and a pig on a lead, and then I'm just gonna hope that the cows follow me, and we're just gonna go from there. And go from there I did. I walked all the way through the night of day 40, all the way into the morning of day 41, where I finally arrived back at the barnyard, getting all of my animals safely in the pen. Then I went to sleep and woke up on the morning of day 42 and continued to grow my beetroot farm, but still didn't finish it yet. Then I set off back to the desert to collect up some sand and sandstone, and I mined up as much sandstone as I could until both of my pickaxes broke. Then I began heading home, but stopped on the way to the village to rate it of all of its beetroots because we all know that I'm struggling to grow those. I poked around the village a little bit more, but didn't really find anything, so I continued my journey home, finally arriving back on the night of day 43 and woke up on day 44 and placed down a bunch of furnaces so that I can smelt some sand down into glass. Then I headed out and mined up some clay for, you guessed it, more clay balls, and then smelted all of those up. Then on day 45, I went out and gathered some coal as well as some more iron, then came back to my base to harvest more of my beetroots and almost finish off the farm, but not quite yet. Then I went into my house and smelted up even more clay balls, and then crafted up some bricks, smelted up my iron, and then finally finished my beetroot field and composted the rest. Then I gathered all of my bricks, making even more brick blocks and adding them to my collection, and then went to sleep on the night of day 45 and woke up on the night of day 46. I headed out to the barnyard to try and breed up a warm cow variant with no luck, but luckily I did breed up a new warm pig, which was great. Then I decided to connect the path up to the fences of the barnyard, then grabbed some hay bales and added them to the inside of the farm. Then I went back into my house and grabbed some grass and some lilies of the valley to make white dye in order to make glass panes that were stained white, but this is when I realized that I probably should have stained the glass before I turned them into panes because you need a lot more white dye that way. Then I cut some bricks into brick stairs and then headed out to the river to make a tree chopping platform where I planted and grew up a spruce tree and then chopped the whole thing down. Then I headed back inside and grabbed the rest of the materials that I was going to need and then fell asleep on the night of day 46 and woke up on day 47. I began marking out a path of where I was going to build my new greenhouse. So I started off by placing some barrels where each pillar was going to go to kind of mark out where the general build was going to go, and then I added in glass panes connecting all of the barrels to kind of act as walls. Then after adding in a door, I added up my pillars and added the glass along those as well, and then began adding in a roof trim, which was a very simple stair and then building up with slabs. Then I connected all the sides using stairs and basically repeated that roof trim process until all 4 sides were complete. Then I went around and stripped all of the logs and then filled in all of the walls with more glass panes. Then I added a little front roof trim and then began filling in the roof using white stained glass and granite and bricks for each top trim. Once I finished that, I built up more pillars, stripped them all down, then began working on a smaller roof trim that's very similar to what we did below, just on a smaller scale. And I went around and repeated that on all 4 sides till once again the trim was complete. Then, as it got dark, I began building up the trim a little bit more, finished off by building the peak of the roof and filling in all 4 sides with white glass again. Then I added leaves to both the top and bottom of the roof and then filled in those tower walls with glass panes and glass in the middle to kind of give it a bay window look. Then it was time to add lanterns to all 4 sides of the build on both the top and bottom again. And here it is with the sun coming up on day 49 with the fireflies disappearing, and I think it looks beautiful. Then obviously, because this is a greenhouse, I had to add tons of flowers, and I really lucked out because the sunflowers were pointing in the right direction, and I'm so happy because I never get to use sunflowers. So there's a donkey right here, and I've also seen a brown horse, I believe, somewhere over there. Yeah, I think that's it right there. And so I think the next thing on my agenda is to build a little horse stable. Now, the barn is pretty large, and I don't think I'm really going to be able to fit anything else on this side. But I think if I build a small little horse stable right here next to our new greenhouse, that could look pretty cute. So even though I just put all of my materials away from the greenhouse, I'm gonna get them back out, and we are gonna kind of construct a tiny little horse stable. So I'm gonna need the classic sandstone, smooth sandstone, and then granite, and also bricks. I should probably make a couple more brick stairs too. And I'll grab a little bit of birch, both the logs and the planks. And I'm gonna need the spruce logs, spruce stairs, probably some slabs, trapdoors, and fences. Can you make sandstone? You can't. Sandstone walls. I do think I'm gonna need a couple sandstone walls. I don't know how many though. So I'm just going to take the stone cutter with me, and we'll go from there. Oh, that's an axe. There we go. And you know what? We are halfway through the challenge now, so I might as well start day 50 off by sleeping. And as soon as I woke up on day 50, I got right to work, first starting off by making a path and then placing down my barrels where all of my pillars are gonna go. And then I began filling in the side walls and the back wall with my mixture of birch logs, birch planks, and sandstone. And then I began building up all of the pillars, and then fell asleep and woke up to day 51 having a rainbow. And then I got working on the roof trim. So right in the middle of this stable, I decided to do a little archway peak thing just to give it a little bit more detail other than it just being flat straight across. Then I continued the trim down to one side of the stable and did the roof trim, which was just building up with slabs every step. And then I just continued the trim down to the back and did the same thing on the other side. Then when I finished, I connected up all of the sides together and then began filling in the inside of the roof using my mixture of granite and bricks. Then I went around to the pillars and added upside down stairs and trap doors to give the archways a little bit more detail. Then I went around the sides and the back and added sandstone walls on top of what I'd already built, and then on top of those walls I added spruce fences. Then I separated the different pens in the stables using walls, and then I created fences and fence gates for entrances to each section. Then on top of those walls, I placed birch fences just to make the walls a little bit taller, and then I went around and added lanterns to each side. So it's missing the leaves, so it looks a little bit bare, but I feel like it's missing just something else, and I love a good tower, so I feel like I'm going to add a mini version of this tower right here onto the stable, and I think it'll look pretty good, so let's just throw that on really quick. And that is exactly what I did. I started by building up some pillars and then stripping down all of the spruce logs. Then I just kind of replicated the trim that I did on the roof for the greenhouse, just by putting a slab on the corner and then building up with an upside down stair and then stacking up with slabs each time. Then I started building the roof up a little bit higher on every single side, and then finished off the tower with a wall and a fence, and then added in some fences along for windows, added some lanterns, added in some leaves, and then fell asleep and woke up to day 53 with the stable all complete. All right, let's try and get our donkey. Oh, all right. Hopefully, this doesn't take that long. Oh, all right. Saddle him up and bring him over to the stable. There we go. At least he can, jump over. All right, little donkey's in there, and I think I saw the brown horse over here, so let's go and try to find him. There is another donkey, but I don't think I want 2 donkeys. I think I want maybe just like horse, donkey, and then maybe I can get a mule. That could be fun. Let's see if I can find the horse. I don't remember if it was over here or not. I truly don't. Yeah, okay, here he is. Let's tame this guy up as well. Yay! Okay. Oh, you are so slow. The donkey is faster than you. That's crazy. I wonder how much of a jumper this guy is. Oh, wow. He does jump pretty high, though. That's cool. I actually, because he's a high jumper, I want to see how well he does climbing a mountain. This is insane. Oh, God. Oh, that almost was the end of this jumper here. I want to see if he can jump onto the roof here. That would be so funny. Oh my God, this is insane. I've never had a horse that jumps. I think that's 4 blocks. I think this is a 4-block jumper. That's insane. Oh my gosh. So pretty slow, very small hearts, but is a jumper for sure. That is crazy. Hello, Mr. Man. I think I need golden carrots to breed them. So I think I'm gonna go and get those really quick. And I'm gonna give it to the donkey and the horse. Oh, they can't get through. Okay. Okay, I think that will work. Did they do it? Hello. Oh, there he is. Oh my goodness. So cute. Look at our little baby. There we go. Okay, now everyone's good. Everyone's separated. And all 3 stalls are filled out. This is so cute. Oh my gosh, I love the little guy. In the morning of day 54, I realized that I needed more leaves, so I headed out to the edge of the forest and sheared leaves until they broke, and then I headed home and started making these little archway hedges. I made 2 big ones that are off of the big main path, and then I made 4 little ones off of the paths that branch off of the main path. Then at the entrance of every crop field, I used fences and fence gates to create this little farmhouse archway. I don't really know how to describe it, but I think that they look so cute. By that time, it was day 55, and I added little fence posts on the hedge archways, and then I started making lamp posts along the main road by building up granite walls, spruce fences, spruce trapdoors, and then adding a lantern on the end. Then off of those fence posts I added on the hedges, I put some lanterns, and here is a final walkthrough of everything I just added, and I feel like it adds so much more character to the area. On day 56, I needed to chop a whole bunch of trees, so I chopped down a spruce tree that was growing in the river, and then I went over to the nearby forest and chopped down a whole bunch of birch trees because I was very low on birch wood. And then I quickly mined up some coal, and then I crafted and grabbed every single item that I was going to need for these next builds, including needing to shear some sheep for the wool. Then I got to planning where each of the builds were going to go, made sure it looked good from the thumbnail angle, and then finally it was time to get building. I am tired of having to go over to the water to chop trees. So funny enough, I just have to chop this tree first, and then we are going to be building a tree chopping farm. Okay, I think that that's enough wood for what I need. Well, I mean, luckily I'm building an entire area dedicated to tree chopping, so For the rest of day 67 into day 68, I spent in the caves mining up so much iron that would last me for the rest of the 100 days. Then I briefly emerged from the caves and found the literal smallest cherry grove biome I have ever seen in my entire life. But then inevitably I ended up back in the caves mining up more iron until I think I had about a stack and a half, maybe even more. Then I returned home and began crafting everything that I was going to need in order to build this tree farm. Then on the morning of day 69, I set out to the place where I was going to build it. So I wanted a pretty simple tree farm, so I didn't do anything too crazy. Really all I did was take some fences and some spruce logs and just stack them like every 2, every 3, just kind of going around to make a border for where the actual tree farm would be. Then on top of the spruce logs that were only 1 tall, I put slabs, and then I stripped all of the logs down and then added trapdoors to all the tops of the fences. Then on top of the 2 tall spruce logs, I put lanterns. Then I created 4 plots using dirt of where I will actually be placing the saplings when I go and use this farm. Then I enclosed all the dirt blocks with trapdoors to make them look like raised garden beds. So looking at this path, it just seems really plain, and I can't make path blocks out of these blocks right here because they're being blocked by the trapdoors. And also this looks a bit awkward to me. So I think I'm gonna throw in some coarse dirt into the path. And then I also think I may add some coarse dirt throughout the rest of my paths as well, just to kind of give it a little more detail other than just being path blocks. But let's sleep the night away first. On the morning of day 70, I grabbed my coarse dirt and headed back out to the tree farm, where I replaced some of the grass blocks with coarse dirt, as well as breaking some of the path blocks and replacing it with coarse dirt as well, just to give it a little bit more detail. I then began digging holes in the path around my base and replacing those with coarse dirt as well. You guys have been hearing me talk for so long by now, so let's have a calm little montage of me replacing the path. All right, I want to build a custom tree, and I do have quite a bit of spruce logs now, but I don't want to build it out of spruce. I want the base of it to be oak. So I feel like now is a pretty good time to go and use that new tree farm that I just made. And now I'm just gonna bone meal them up. And while I'm cutting down this one, I'll wait for the others to grow. While I continue to wait for these to grow, I kind of want to add this fencing detail to the barn over there. Now I'm going to need a lot of trapdoors, but before I even do that, I want to plan out where each pillar is going to go. So let me go and grab the spruce wood quick. So obviously I want the first pillar to be here. And then I need to count how many there are here to see if we have a middle point or not. Okay, so there's 18 going all the way across, which means there's not a middle point. So we're gonna have to do this evenly. I don't exactly know where the middle is, but I think it's these two right here. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, put 1 here, and then like, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that even? I think that's even, and I think I like that spacing. That looks pretty good. Now I'm just gonna repeat this on the other side and then make a pattern in the back. day 73, the trees were all done growing, so I chopped them all down and then sheared a bunch of the leaves and of course replanted the saplings. And then I got distracted and began making paths around the windmill to connect everything up because until then, the windmills were just sitting there with no paths, no leaves, no decorations around it, and they looked just kind of out of place. So I went through and created a bunch of paths around them and then lined them all with leaves. Then I went around and marked out where I was going to add more lampposts, and I done a very similar design to what I've done earlier. And here is a final quick walkthrough. Then I decided the path needed even more detail, so I went around poking holes in the path and adding in cobblestone, which I think gave it a level of texture that it was definitely missing, and I like it so much more now. So enjoy a couple clips of me improving the path. Then I began clearing out this small little hill because I wanted to add in a pond next to my house, so I started outlining the shape of the pond and digging it all the way down, I believe about 3 layers deep. Then I made an infinite water source and began filling up the entire pond, and then I went around and made a couple of rocks, planted in some bushes, created a little fishing dock, added in some stones with a lantern on top, and then of course decorated the entire exterior with flowers. And there is the finished pond. Then I began making a path connecting my house up past the pond all the way reaching the greenhouse. And then of course I lined it with leaves. And then I finally got started on working on these custom trees. Now I wouldn't say that I'm a pro tree builder. I've honestly never really done it that much before. So I just kind of started making random diagonal branches going out in multiple directions, and it actually turned out pretty good. So then I started adding leaves all around the branches, and I tried not to add too many because I know sometimes that could make it look bad, but you guys, I was actually so happy with how it turned out. I love it. So then with my newfound confidence on tree building, I went right next to it and began building a second tree using the same style that I did for the last one. And I love how the two of these trees look together. Then I decided why not build a third, so I went next to my animal barn and began constructing my third big custom tree, once again using the exact same technique that I did for the last two. Then I moved back over to the pond area and began breaking down the path and adding in coarse dirt, then breaking down the path one more time in order to add in my cobblestone. Then underneath the trees, I broke the grass and replaced it with coarse dirt just to kind of give the trees a little bit more reason for being there and really making it look like they belong there. Then in between the stable and the greenhouse, I made a couple path blocks and then filled in the rest with coarse dirt to create an area to add on to later. Then I did the same coarse dirt underneath the tree by the barn, and then I realized that I need to extend this grass out, so that's exactly what I did. It definitely needed to blend in with the surrounding area more. So by the village, there is a beehive, and I really want to get some bees into our greenhouse. But of course, in order to get bees, I need silk touch, and I'm working with iron tools. I have no enchantments, no nothing, but I have 8 diamonds to my name, and I'm running on only hopes and dreams at this point. But I think if I pick some of the sugar cane here, I could make paper and then go and kill some of my cows. I don't have a lot of cows, but I could go kill a cow or two and get leather for a book. Okay, perfect. I have exactly 1 book. Now, I also need to make a campfire in order to smoke out the bees, I think, in order for them to not get mad when I take their nest. I don't know if the silk touch affects that or not, but I would rather just be safe and not risk it. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, I don't exactly remember where the village was. I feel like it was like that way or something. I can't remember, but I think I'm just gonna wander until I can find it. Or maybe it was right here. I don't know. Something's telling me it's like right here, but honestly, I can't remember. All right, found the village. Luckily, wasn't far. Let's hope there's a librarian in here somewhere, because I don't have a lectern. I didn't make a lectern. So we're once again just running on hopes and dreams here. All right, not seeing a librarian around here, but there is another village nearby. I don't know where it is. I think I'm just gonna wander around and just kind of look for it. Okay, I found the second village and it looks like there is a librarian here. Yep, okay, I see the lectern. Now just where is the villager? I don't know. Unsure. TBD, perhaps. Now all I've got to do is just find this jobless villager. There's a baby and two farmers. Oh, we have another librarian. Where's your lectern, dude? Hello? Oh, okay. Well, there's that guy. What do you trade? Bookshelves. All right. Are you gonna pick up the job? Yes? Okay. And efficiency 2. Let's just kind of start rolling this and hope for the best. I ended up bringing the lectern inside and trapping the villager in with a piece of dirt so that it would be a little bit easier for me to continuously reroll this trade. All right, we found Silk Touch for 17 emeralds. That seems a little crazy, but I think we're gonna leave this guy here and then go and I would say pick some crops from the village, but it doesn't look like there's any crops. So I can't trade at all. I think I may have to run home and harvest my crops. Let's see what these farmer villagers actually trade for. So we got beetroots and wheat, carrots and potatoes, and potatoes. All right. So I'm gonna run home, harvest the crops, come back, trade with the farmers to then trade with the librarian to get Silk Touch. I then traded with the villagers and got quite a bit of emeralds to finally be able to trade for that Silk Touch book. But then I realized I needed an anvil and I only had 17 iron, so I spent the entire rest of day 85 in the mines looking for iron. When I arrived home, I looked in my furnaces and noticed that I had 13 iron ingots in both of my furnaces, giving me 26, plus the 17 I already had in my chest, was enough for an anvil, meaning that entire mining trip was useless. But alas, I smelted up the 41 that I found and used my already existing iron to make 3 iron blocks, then finally crafted the anvil and enchanted my axe. Then I fell asleep and woke up on day 86, where I set out back to the flower forest in searching of a bee's nest. And I got super lucky because I found 2 right next to each other, so I placed that campfire down and snatched up both beehives. Then I headed back home and grabbed some trapdoors and made a brand new campfire in order to set up both bees' nests in the greenhouse. Then I went to sleep and woke up on day 87, where I immediately went and bred my bees and got a cute little baby bee. Then I composted my extra seeds and ran around bone mealing the entire surrounding area. Then I grabbed some hay bales and sporadically placed them around some of my builds. Then I grabbed some composters and fence gates and made little carts with them, and I think they turned out super cute. And then I decorated up the area a bit and then went around planting every single flower known to man, as well as some sweet berries. Then I headed over to the taiga to get even more coarse dirt and made another coarse dirt patch near my tree farm and added some sideways logs and a campfire surrounded by a bunch of bushes. And of course, I sprinkled leaf litter, hay bales, and tons of flowers all over the place. Then I extended my coarse dirt, added a couple more carts and some hay bales, again tons of flowers, and then moved on to making yet another coarse dirt patch, this time by the windmills, and I created another fireplace area surrounded by flowers and leaf litter. Then, you guessed it, I made another coarse dirt patch and filled it with even more carts. Then on days 92 and 93, I went around and added lanterns into all of my crop fields, and then went into the mines to gather up a bunch of granite. I then turned that granite into granite walls and then grabbed a couple more extra materials because I wanted to build a well. So we were back on day 94 making another coarse dirt patch and building the well right on top. Then I grabbed some slabs and trapdoors and started making these little benches around the surrounding area, and then I added a lantern to my first custom tree. Then on day 95, I went and sheared a whole bunch of leaves and then mined up some granite as well as some diorite and then crafted them all into walls so that I can use them as the stump for these new custom trees I was making. They weren't as detailed as the ones I made previously, as it's just one stalk up and then I just carry the leaves on down, and they kind of just look like big cypress trees. Then I watched the sunset as I walked back inside for one final sleep into the morning of day 100. And now it is time for the grand tour of my farm. So of course we start off on my cute little interior of my house. Super small, super cute, and I love it. It served its purpose very well. Then outside we have the deck and the stairs leading down to our beautiful crop fields. We've got our beetroot one here, our wheat field over here, we have potatoes and carrots, and of course we have our pumpkins and our melons. In between each of the fields, we have these little hedge archways which lead into different buildings. So this first archway leads us to our greenhouse. Unfortunately, none of the bees are out right now, but you can hear them buzzing inside, and I love this greenhouse and I wish I spent a little more time here. And directly across from our greenhouse, we have one side of our beautiful animal barn, which we can enter through right here and walk through and see every single variant of the new animals. Then continuing out this archway and going on to the next one, we get brought up to our horse stable where we have our horse, our mule, and our donkey. Then continuing on the opposite side of my house, we have our tree chopping area, which sadly I really didn't get much use out of because by the time I built it, I pretty much had all of the wood that I needed and all of the buildings were already built, but I still think that it is super cute, especially with all of the trees grown in. Then over here we just have a little bit of random decorations like a fire pit area, a well, a little custom tree here, and some benches to sit at. And if we continue down this way, we are brought to the windmill area with our two big, beautiful windmills, which I still just cannot stop looking at. I think they look so cool. And of course, we have 3 little custom trees and a bench. And over here, we have another campfire area with a little tree behind it. And then just walking past our house, we have our little pond with a fishing dock, which I never actually did any fishing in. And then we just have another little area filled with trees, flowers, and benches. And I think that this entire area turned out so freaking cute. So that is going to do it for our 100 days in a peaceful farm. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other ideas for 100-day challenges that I should do, please let me know because this 100 days was really, really fun and I would love to do more of these in the future. Once again, thank you so much for watching and I will catch up with you guys later. Bye!